Greetings, everybody. I'm Dr. Gilbert coming to you from Maine for Leading Culture and Diversity in Schools. Please do start by saying, please do call me Kristen. That's my preference. I know some of you it's really hard, but please make that effort. The good news about this course is that it's a 5-week course. The bad news about this course is that it's a 5-week course. So I'm just going to take this time to go over a few things to make sure we're all on the same page. Right, you'll see in the background here, I have the home page. This is the course home. On the course home, you'll always see your announcements. Let's click to the course home here. There we go. On the course home, you'll always see your announcements. That's my way of communicating with you regularly to tell you what's going on in the class and any updates. I expect that you're logged on regularly, given that this is a 16-week course. That means you're doing about 3.5 weeks every week in this module. That's a lot of work, so I expect you to be on regularly, if not daily, at least the vast majority of the week. Check announcements, that's where I'll have updates, and that's where I'll also be communicating things that you need to do in the course. I have a lot of times people post in the muddiest points. I know a lot of you have had me in class already, so you know that I have a muddiest point. A lot of you post in the muddiest points, hey, can you tell me how to do this, or what about that? Please check course news first, then go to the muddiest points. The hope for muddiest points is that when you click on this and you post something, hey, I can't find the course overview, somebody is online and says, hey, it's right in the course library, right? And if somebody's not right online, I promise I will get to you. I will be on daily, so I will get to you by the end of the next business school day. Okay, so let's actually go to the course library, which, as you know, there are several different ways to enter D2L. I like to go here, click on content rather than through the course home because it gives you more like opening the book of the classroom. And you'll see that you have a lot of necessary documents in your course library. So let's click on the course overview. This is going to be really important, more so than in my other courses, because I tell you what the assigned reading is right here rather than in the checklist. I'll get to the checklist in a second, but the checklist says read the assigned reading per the course overview. So you'll need this course overview. Over here on the right are your assignments. They're generally due at the close of the module unless it states otherwise. For example, so there's an introductory video, but in the module it says that this is due before the close. Actually, this one's July 2nd. It's a short week, so it might be at the time of the close, but for roster verification. So generally, you can assume it's the end of the week, but check the checklist to make sure that there's not a different date. You'll see that there's a synchronous session. The first one is tomorrow. Sorry for the short turnaround, but hopefully you guys got that syllabus and started reading as soon as you got it. And all you had to do for tomorrow's session is read Johnson Chapter 3 and prepare your own diversity wheel. Be ready to talk about how your positionality in each aspect of the wheel either privileges or oppresses or simultaneously maybe does both, right? So that synchronous session is on Friday, but you'll see most of the synchronous sessions are on Wednesday. I try to be consistent here, 8:30 to 10:30, so you can get on with your day. Each one, those of you who have had me understand this, but for those of you who are new, each one of the synchronous sessions replaces an assignment. So, for example, synchronous session July 26, participate in a lesson study. That's a different project we'll talk about. Or write the paper. So you either attend the synchronous session or you write a paper. And for each, you'll find in the content for each session, there is an assignment, attend synchronous session, or and participate. There's going to be a lesson study again. I already said that, but or write the paper. You'll find that there's an assignment with synchronous session. What do I need to do to prepare? If I don't prepare, if I can't attend, that's okay. I understand it's summer. Write the paper. And here's what your paper is about. The papers, I expect all of them to be scholarly, meaning they're following APA format. That means you have a running head. That means you have a title page. That means you have pagination. That means you have proper citation. And yes, I'm stickler for APA because you should never graduate or even get a certificate. You shouldn't have your master's if you don't know how to follow APA. You want to be able to be taken seriously. So all scholarly papers, grounded in the research, grounded in your readings. Most of your readings right here will be by Theo Harris and Scanlon. I love their book. Saw them present at a conference recently, and they were inspiring. And they have, I think, as good a book on theory to practice as any book I've seen out there. So this book is written for you to be a leader in school and to think about how we deconstruct the status quo to create more equitable learning. You guys are going to hear me talk about that a lot. There's no better place in diversity than talk about how it is that we marginalize. These aren't just disenfranchised youth. We marginalize them by our actions. We do things that further disadvantage, that widen the gap without even thinking about it, right? For example, once in a diversity course, an undergrad diversity course, I said, hey, Jonathan Colesville's coming to UWG, and he was. It was amazing. And if you can come, if you attend this evening presentation, I will give you extra credit. And one of my students raised their hand and said, well, so what that's doing is those of us who have to work in the evening aren't allowed to go, and so we're really being disadvantaged by having to have a job that we work in the evening, so we can't attend these evening courses. And so I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about how I was creating this gap again between kind of the haves, those who maybe people who didn't have to work or didn't happen to be on a schedule at that time, and the have-nots. Which, just so you know, it was recorded and they were able to watch it and then write a brief reflection about it. And so there are things that we just do not because we want to widen the gap, but because we are so schooled in thinking in certain ways that we don't question it. So as administrator, I'm going to ask you to question your status quo, question what happens in your school, and to really deconstruct the ways that we unconsciously think. Okay, so the course overview is going to be really important for you. And you'll see in the course overview that there are several things due. So let me go to the checklist. If you go to the checklist over here, you can also go to the checklist in content. So I'm going to go to, for example, checklist 2. There's a lot to do in checklist 1. I don't want to overwhelm you. And it's a short week, so that puts you at a disadvantage as well. Okay. So you'll see that there's a video you have to watch. There's always going to be course readings. Some of the readings I want you to read very carefully. For example, in anything that has to do with the book reading, from front to cover, you're reading that. And other readings I'll indicate to you, read this like a graduate student, which means skim through it, get the key ideas, and then put it aside. Write some notes in the margin so that you can use it when you're writing your papers, because you're all going to be writing at least one paper and possibly more if you can't attend synchronous sessions. So write some key notes in the margins on the side where you've highlighted, and then put it aside. I'll let you know which ones you're going to scan. There aren't that many that you're just going to kind of scan through. Most of them you're going to do a deep read. And I also want to point out that the reading is differentiated. So those of you who are teacher leaders, you have readings that are specific to being teacher leaders in equity, and administrators, you have readings that are specific to being principals and thinking about equity and diversity. Okay, so you're going to always have reading, and then you're always going to have an assignment. So the assignment could be small. So in this instance, you're completing a privilege line activity. Just to think about it's another step on the diversity wheel. Like, so what ways do I have privilege that maybe I haven't thought about, or maybe I am aware of? And you'll get a privilege score. That's going to support your module 2 discussion. So you've got a reading, you've got an assignment, you've got a discussion, and you're going to choose an internship activity in this module, and that has to do with your also with your lesson study, and then you'll complete module 2 paper. Remember, the paper can be replaced by attendance at the synchronous session. Okay, So there's a lot to do each module. As I've said in my opening email to you, I don't like this. I don't like that you have more than one thing to do. But honestly, with 16 weeks crammed into 5 weeks, you are going to have to put an extraordinary amount of time in each day to keep up, to keep pace. So this is not going to be something you can do on the weekend. It's not going to be something you can even do the latter half of the week. There's a lot to be done every day, and if you're not putting time in every day, it might not be the time for you to take the course. Okay, so those are the checklists there to help you. Please make sure too that if you go to an assessment tool, let's say you go to the Dropbox, which is called an assignment submission folder, but for ease of conversation, I'm going to call it a Dropbox, and you submit an assignment, you'll see, yours won't look exactly like this, but you'll see, for example, you submit a note catcher. Please make sure on yours, when I evaluate it, you're going to see that there's a bubble over here. Please make sure to read my feedback. I give a lot of feedback in a very timely manner, and it's sometimes very depressing for me to see that students had no idea that there was this little bubble of feedback and that I've actually maybe attached their document with additional comments on it. So please check once you've submitted it in the grades, in the gradebook, or in your Dropbox for feedback. Which reminds me, I've asked you to use a naming protocol. Please make sure you do that. I know it sounds maybe a little bit autocratic to demand that you do this, this, and this, but it really helps me when I download assignments and I'm grading them offline to know, for example, this is D binos or L bino, and then underscore, and here's the assignment, it's the note catcher, and then I'll just put after it KG comments, right? And so then I know that's the one I'm going to re-upload to you. So it's very helpful if you don't just put the note catcher and turn it in, because then when I download them, I have 7 without names, and it's very hard for me to figure out whose is who, and I have to go and click back and forth. And it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I have over 100 students, not in this class, but in all 7 of my classes combined. So it takes me a lot of time if you don't follow that. Okay, I'm running out of time. I only have 3 more minutes before this cuts me off. So just remember here that Course Home, you can see grades are here. Click on that if you want your grades. Course Home is where you start. Check in, use the Muddiest Points forum. I'm super excited, or as we say in Maine, I'm wicked excited for this course. I think it's a great opportunity for us to really challenge our thinking, and I want to invite you to do that. I want to invite you to be comfortable, as I said in my course news, with saying, you know, this is how I really think about this. And I hear, Kristen, that it's not at all the direction that you're pushing us to think. And that's good. I would really love it if you do that, because what that will do, I won't stop pushing. It will allow me to help you deconstruct that way of thinking. And in the end, you may not agree with me, and that's okay. But what you will have to do is, in your papers, in your projects, demonstrate that you understand the principles of what's behind diversity and equity, even if you don't agree with them. So it's okay to push, it's okay to disagree, but you have to be able to demonstrate in the end that you at least have an understanding of why I'm asking you to think a certain way, even if you don't adopt it as your own. Okay, also final thing, I do have a lot of what you need to do in the calendar here, but please be clear that I don't connect every single thing to the calendar. So for example, it says that the discussion is available, but it doesn't have a due date. So please don't rely on the calendar solely for your due dates. Please rely on D2L. I have them very clearly listed, and most of the time they're at the end of the module. If you don't see a due date, you can assume it's Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. And no, I do not. If you get it in at 11 p.m. or 11:28 p.m., I don't care. As long as you do good work on it, if it's quality work, I'm not going to hassle you about doing something at the last minute. Okay, so use your time wisely. I look forward to seeing you in synchronous session. It's through WebEx. Check out WebEx. It's GoToMeeting. Sorry, we have so many difficulties with WebEx. I'm going to GoToMeeting. Check out GoToMeeting. Download it. Make sure it works on your computer. Make sure you can show your video. Make sure you can hear. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.